Hey everybody, it's Safi and Marco, Dish Out on Movies, the only movie review show on YouTube to review movies in terms of food. And it's just Marco here once again. So, originally this was supposed to be a movie review, but Safi fucked it up and she didn't watch the movie ahead of time. And so now she doesn't have time to watch it anymore because there's going to be an electrician coming and she has to prepare for that. Uh, so instead, I decided to review another Goosebumps book. Basically, the Goosebumps book reviews kind of serve as a little bit of a filler in situations where we can't get movie reviews done or we just don't have anything to review. But we will be starting the Single Father movie review week. And we won't have time to do it anymore this week because the schedule is full. I already had a schedule written out and everything. So I am here to review Night of the Living Dummy 2. And now, if you remember last time I reviewed Night of the Living Dummy, because the second one is the episode on Netflix, and I decided I'll read the first one and then read the second one and then watch the episode. So that's why I did that. And Night of the Living Dummy 2, first off, the first one, I sort of gave it like a C, C plus, C minus, I can't remember. It was pretty average. It was very repetitive and very dull until the very end. But there were some really cool things in there that I liked. There were some really good story elements and ideas, and I liked the Mr. Wood character, and I liked the ending a lot where Slappy's revealed to be alive. So now in the second one, it's all about these two girls and their brother and the parents and one of them has a dummy, and I can't remember the dummy's name. She has a dummy, and he's a really crappy dummy. He keeps falling apart, and so the parents buy her Slappy from an antique shop. And I read this book a long time ago. I read it months and months ago in the summer. It was such an amazing summer. Even though I couldn't really do much besides do work at home, it was such an amazing experience. Let me tell you something. It's probably one of my favorite experiences ever. Just sitting around on a summer's day, listening to a Goosebumps story, and then putting a little short review on Instagram, and just having that. And sometimes I would read like 2 books a day. Sometimes I would read 3 a day. And with this one, I really enjoyed the second Night of the Living Dummy. I remember when I read it. I read it on a Sunday, and I had some chocolate chip pancakes while I was reading it, and it was such a pleasant experience to read this story, even though the material, it's quote-unquote horror, kids' horror. It was a very fun book, and it was a big improvement on the first one, which I see a lot of people who are mixed, where people either love the second one or they don't like it, and they think it's worse than the first one. Well, I'll preface it because this story is very simple and very minimalistic, and not a lot happens that's scary. It is not scary at all. The first one had some scary stuff in it, like with the end where Mr. Wood is going to strangle the dog right in front of them. I mean, that was horrifying, honestly. It came out of nowhere. I never would have expected R.L. Stine to have done that, and it was really effective in that moment. But in the second one, there's really not anything near that level of being scary or dark or dangerous. It's all very, very safe. Playing it safe. And the highlight moment of the book is Slappy when he's at this girl's birthday party and he's squeezing her hand. I mean, come on. Really? That's the climactic moment of the whole story of just, you have a living dummy. This dummy causes trouble. It thinks that it wants to make children his slaves, which, that's a whole other level of creepy, because you don't know what his intentions are. Like, that's something that I've always had a problem with the Slappy character, is that what does he want these kids to do for him? Like, is he a pedophile dummy? Does he want them to run like a criminal business for him? Like, just what does he want to do with them? Like, what are they serving, being his slaves? It really doesn't make much sense. And in the second one, they do not answer that question at all, which irritates me, because that's a huge question. Like in Child's Play, the first Child's Play movie, you had Chucky, and what did he want Andy to do? Well, he wanted him to take him to Eddie's house, his partner, Eddie, so he could kill him, and then Andy's just there, and then he could get blamed for it if they find any evidence. So that was what he wanted Andy for, and then, of course, he finds out he has to transfer his soul into Andy because he's turning human inside the doll. Right there, you have those questions answered. Why does Chucky want Andy to be his slave, his friend, whatever? Because he wants those things done. That's why. In Night of the Living Dummy, it's literally just, you kids are my slaves. And it's like, why? Why? Why are you his slave? Like, why are you the slave? Why? Why? Like, just why? You got to answer that question. If it is that dark and that, like, if he's a pedophile dummy, then, I would understand then if you didn't want to answer that, since it's a kid's book. But you could imply something somehow to make it, like, really darker and more, like, mysterious and more dangerous than, because it is kind of strange how with these first two books, who's he targeting? He's targeting young girls. And he really has not targeted a boy yet. In the first book, he targeted two twin sisters. Well, at the end he targets them. And he even says at the end, I'm glad Mr. Wood is out of the way. And so now you slaves are going to be my slaves, whatever. I can't remember the exact line. But he even acts like that, almost like he's like he's a creep. He's a pervert. And the second one, who does he target? Does he target the brother? No, he targets the two sisters. They're not even twins anymore, although I guess in the book they do mention that they look a lot alike. So once again, that's really weird. Like, you just think about it, it's really, really weird. And then the fact that, what's the climactic scene? He grabs even littler girl's hand at a party and grabs her hand and refuses to let go. I mean, come on. Like, but I don't know. I can't really say for sure, because it's all just a big question mark when it comes to these books, because they're written for kids. And, that's why I swear, if I get enough money from making films, hopefully in the future, making a ton of films, I will buy the rights to Goosebumps to make movies, and I will make R-rated Goosebumps films for all the fans of Goosebumps who grew up and now they're adults, and they can watch they can watch R-rated versions of the shows, and it'll, the property, it evolved with the people who read it. Just like with Star Wars, what George Lucas did with the prequels. What did he do? He saw that he had the fans of the original trilogy. They all had kids. And there are a lot of younger fans who are growing up and they discover Star Wars. And so what does he do? He makes the prequels aimed more towards the kids. Well, and obviously it shouldn't be like that the whole series, I mean, obviously there should be Goosebumps stories that are kids' stories, teenage stories, all types of stories. But to just, like, have it be this one thing, Like, people associate Goosebumps with kiddishness nowadays for some reason. Like, whenever people talk about that show, like I even said for Chucky, that show's a real Goosebumps level show. But it's like, why does it have to be that way? We have these fantastic characters, these fantastic ideas with Slappy. He's such an iconic character. Why does he have to be just one way? You can make an R-rated Slappy story, an R-rated Slappy movie, and just make it explicitly clear this is an R-rated Slappy. Like, you can do that. It's not difficult. It's not undoable. They have Deadpool. They've done superhero movies, R-rated, and you know what? Kids will still watch them because not all parents are tight asses. And not all parents are just gonna, shelter their kids and treat them like babies their whole lives. So, when I was a kid, I would see R-rated movies, and I'm just fine. In fact, R-rated movies and horror movies in general, they really shaped me. And if I had just stuck in that Goosebumps level kiddishness category, I don't think I would be a filmmaker. I don't think that I would be interested in horror movies. Because Goosebumps is so one note. It's so safe. It plays everything so safe. And speaking of the book, which is what this video is about, I just had to get that tangent out of the way because it's important when it comes to this story. Because this story is so safe. It is the safest story. It is just so safe. Like, oh no, Slappy painted over your sister's painting. Uh-oh, Slappy painted a mean drawing. Oh, it's not, it's you, it's the sister. It's like, this is like childish storyline here. But the thing is, now here's the caveat to this book. This story was so well written by R.L. Stine that I don't even care that it was a safe, kiddish story. So, does that blow your mind or what? I love this book. I actually really liked it because of how it was written. It was so entertaining and enjoyable to read. And so for that, I'd say, fuck it. This was a really good book. And for all the shit that I've given it in terms of the story, the basic outline of the story, it was really well written. And I will say, though, that, like, none of these books are really that rereadable yet to me. Like, I don't really see myself rereading Night of the Living Dummy 2. Like, oh, I can't wait to get to the part where Slappy squeezes the girl's hand at the party. I can't wait to get the part at the end where they think that the brother is attacking Slappy and he's pretending to be the dummy, and then it's not. It's actually the dummy. And, God, what was that dummy's name? I know a Goosebumps fanboy is going to come in this comments and be like, it's that, come on. I probably would be able to think about it, like, pretty quickly, but I don't want to have any dead air or I'm just, like, not saying anything. So that's why I just can't remember. I do remember, I think the brother's name is Jed or Jeff, and he, something really interesting. I'm working on an in-depth analysis of the books versus the films. A selective analysis, because I'm going to omit certain episodes. But this episode and story and book, it is very interesting, the parallels between Jeff and the dummies. And I'll say that. That's all I'll say. But that is the most interesting part about the book and about the story in general, is that there's so many purposeful things that draw your attention to how similar the brother is to the dummies and just the importance of that. It's really interesting if you dissect it, if you really dissect it. But yeah, I like this book. It was pretty good. It was I do have to say that I'm not a fan of the characters a lot. They're distinctive, but I don't like them. Like, they're just so basic and bare bones, and I really wish that these characters would be more interesting and more unique. Like when I watch a Coen Brothers movie like Big Lebowski, you remember all those different types of characters. And, whether it's a kid thing or adult thing, I really wish that the characters were more developed. Because honestly, the character whom I remember from the story is fucking Slappy, the villain. Like, come on, why is that? Like, I should be remembering all the characters. All of them. In Child's Play, I remember Andy, the kid. I remember the mom. I remember the detective, the shitty detective. I remember all those characters. But for some reason in Goosebumps books, the characters are sort of like cardboard cutouts. And I guess they're paper cutouts because they're written on paper. That'd be a pretty interesting drawing. I got an idea. I just got an art idea so I can work on another drawing. If you guys don't know, I do art too. But anyways, I would rate this book an A-. I really loved it when I first read it, and I really enjoyed I just enjoyed the book. Like, sometimes a book story and like the logical common sense, the stuff that, if you talk about it out loud, it doesn't sound good, but then when you read it or you watch the movie, it's a lot better than it sounds. You know what I mean? Like, this story was one of those stories where it was a pretty solid story, and it just seemed pretty perfect the way that in the first one they focused on Mr. Wood, and in the second one they focused on Slappy, and Slappy basically became the highlight character, the head character of the Goosebumps series, unfortunately. Because I think there are better villains out there, honestly. Like, especially from reading these books, that's another thing of why I can't give this an A+, is because Slappy is really not that scary in this book. Like, as I said, Mr. Wood was a lot scarier. Slappy's like, he's kind of funny. Like, the stuff that he says about the parents, about the brother, about the sister, he's not far off. Like, he makes some really funny jokes. And that was another thing, was that it's so enjoyable to listen to Slappy roasting people. And, like, that the kid's gonna get in trouble. And that's, like, the sad part, is that it leads to some really, like, unpleasant scenes with the parents who treat the kids like garbage. Like, the kids, like, will do, like, one thing wrong, and, like, the mom in this one is just, she's terrible. She's so awful and evil and, mean, but I love it when Slappy roasts people. Like, I kind of wish that that R.L. Stine would do, like, a Goosebumps roast book where, like, it's meta, and they're holding, like, a roast of Goosebumps, the show or something, and then Slappy takes over it, and he's roasting all the different characters from the books, and he's, like, roasting the heroes of other books, like those kids from The Curse of the Mummy's Tomb. Like, you kids are so stupid. You got into a car with a stranger, and he was gonna kidnap you and mummify you, and you couldn't imagine just Slappy roasting all the characters from the various books and just, like, destroying them and being like, you call that, he could even roast R.L. Stine, like, you call that writing, R.L. Stine? I call that scribbling. You could tell some really, I mean, I know those aren't good jokes. Those are just, like, just quick, little joke things. They're not even jokes. I mean, don't count those. I promise I am a better joke writer than that. But not in this video, I guess. So anyways, I hope you guys liked this video. If you did, give this video a thumbs up, comment, tell me what you thought about Night of the Living Dummy 2. I really enjoyed it, but I do have issues with it overall. It is one of the better books just because it was so well written. It was so smooth. It was such a consistent story. Like, it really felt he had an idea, and he executed that idea to the fullest extent. He wrote it out, and it all is on the paper. And because sometimes with movies and shows and books, they feel almost like they're different things glued together. Like with the movie we were supposed to review today, that one has that feeling where it has all these plots that just do not connect, and they just feel like completely separate films. So I really liked how this book, this story, it's a very simple and very complete story. And still, it leaves a lot to be desired. When I read a Night of the Living Dummy book, what I want is I want some roasting, and you get that in this book, but I also want it to be dark. Not in terms of the parents, because I gotta be honest too, I get a little bit sick of these adults in these Goosebumps books. They're so shitty, and they're so terrible, and they're just horrible parents. I mean, that's a whole other thing. You could make a book, like a Goosebumps book, to like explain why the parents are so evil. Like, are all the parents on Earth in this Goosebumps universe, are they all mutants or something, and they're not actually real people? You know what I mean? Like, oh, that sounded stupid. Because the kids are going to grow up to be new parents. Like, I just forget. I'm just saying, like, these parents are so dumb. They're so, like, mean to their kids. They're so heartless. They just act like in this one, like the mom, she guilt trips the daughter, makes her feel horrible. Like, it's awful to see. It's so, ugh. It makes me want to throw up. And then you have Slappy, and he's just this jokester and this jackass who just, he causes all this trouble. But it would be so much better if it was darker. Like if Slappy was actually killing people, which he does in the show, in The Bride of the Living Dummy. It's basically implied that he killed the entire family from the third one, and he killed all the dummies, which the dummies are basically, they have souls too. I guess, I don't know. And that's another weird thing in this book. I forgot to mention it. Just one quick thing. At the end of this book, when they defeat Slappy, there's like a white worm that crawls out of his head and then crawls inside the wall. I mean, that was like the most bizarre thing I've ever seen. I mean, I've ever heard. Like, it's just like this random, huge white worm that Slappy is made out of, I guess. Like, it's really weird. Like, I don't think he's ever explained that either. Like, that would be a good question to ask him. If you want to talk to him, if you want to ask him a question, ask him why was there a white worm that crawled out of Slappy? Like, what? Like, WTF? And now it's too long, so please like this video. It's finally going to end now. And then comment and then subscribe if you want to see more Goosebumps reviews. They probably won't be as long as this video. Goodbye, everybody. See you soon.